first thing we're going to start with is just tell us about the show. What's it all about? It seems very unique, which I can't wait to see it.
So, Angela, A Secret Diary of a Bingo Call Girl is a show that chronicles Angela's ascent from a primary school music teacher in Essex to the Northwest's premier party bingo caller. And it's semi true because that is actually what happened. There's a lot of nonsense stories in it though to make it really funny. So it's a musical comedy. So there's loads of songs that go through it, and some are original, some are parodies. None of them are like covers. It's not cabaret at all, which
Hmm.
people sometimes mistake because it's drag. But no, they are my own songs. And then there's storytelling about everything from the people she meets to the food she eats to the places she goes. And throughout the whole thing, it's all linked together with an actual game of bingo. So everyone gets a bingo card when they come in, and essentially it works as like a structure. So after a bit of an intro, Angela will start the bingo, but every three numbers or so, a number will set her off on like a story. So
Got
there'll
yeah.
be things that come up like I can, it's not a spoiler, 31 sort of sends her into a spin because it reminds her of December 31st, and she went to a party and it was terrible. And I'll leave it there. And so she starts talking about that. But there's lots of, yeah, the numbers link in, and there's also I went wild with the kind of video production. There's a few numbers that link to um mini games. So almost like if you
Right.
can
Yeah.
remember remember what games, the games on the Wii, which were all like
Oh,
really
what?
quick, like
Yeah.
10-second games, and it's just like do this, and like everyone has to do it, and they win prizes. And it taps into Andrew's obviously and mine, because
Hmm.
it's true, primary school background. So it's got a real, what I've noticed between this move into what I do now is just how similar like running a sort of bongos bingo party drag bingo night is to running a class party for 9-year-olds.
Well, pe people always say that children are essentially just, little drunk adults. That's always been the old phrase, isn't it? So you're a former primary school teacher as well. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying as well?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
how was that, and the kind of transition into what you do now, because they are two polar opposites.
I think because I was primary teacher for 15 years, and I
Sorry,
always
let me jump in. How old are you?
I'm 46,
Wow.
or
Sorry,
as
you don't look old enough to be a 15-year veteran primary teacher. I'll tell you that now.
as Angela says, she's 22 and the same again plus two. I did it 15 years, um, and all the time I was doing things on the side, like through my 20s and 30s. I was DJing, I was running club nights. I then got into sort of the open mic circuit later on and sort of drifted into comedy in my late 30s. And then lots of things happened. I met my wife and realized that once I was in a relationship with this career and what I like to do as well, there was no time for anything. And then I got promoted as you often do. And I hit a point where I was like, and she was in a similar position. We were like, we don't want to keep doing this. Like, we're just doing our jobs and we're knackered, and that's it. And if you are a born and bred teacher, they love that. Like, I've got family members who are teachers and they live the teacher life and they have their kids, and that's more than enough for them. But it wasn't enough for me. So
Mhm.
we moved from the south to the north to Glossop near Manchester to try something new. So I still tutor. So I do have some students every week, and I do the very occasional bit of supply teaching, maybe once every fortnight. I do a day, keep my toe in. So now the teaching is more like the hobby. And because I do enjoy working with kids, it's just
Mhm.
that the stuff that goes around being a teacher, all the marking, the planning, the assessment, the top-down management, yada yada yada, the hours, is far too much. And so yeah, that was sort of the move, and
And that's
it's worked out.
that's the thing in it, because I mean it's such a dramatic move to go from a stable a stable career to going into entertainment, which we all know isn't the most stable of careers at the best of times. Was how big was that risk for you? Like, what was the kind of thought process behind it?
What I think is that I've always, as I say, as well as being a teacher, I'd always sort of run my own little businesses
Hmm.
on the side, and I've always been drawn to running my own businesses, doing my own thing. And I guess what's a message for anyone younger is, I mean, I did it in a way which is very, like, I probably didn't know it at the time, but seems like an almost sensible way to do it. I built up, I had the career. I
Hmm.
built up some money. I bought a flat. I did all that kind of thing, and now I'm at a position where I'm able to do it with a a little safety net,
Yeah.
but also the confidence. I've got all the experience of what I do, and the key is I don't just do Angelabra. There's a good chance I could. I looked at it, financially speaking, but as you say, it's so up and down. I'd
Hmm.
rather have this sort of ongoing safety net, if you like, of regular work. The tutoring is that.
Hmm.
Um, but I enjoy it. So it's not like, when you hear about, I mean, I think back in the day, you'd have bands who are like, they're gigging every night and they're doing the day job to like pay the bills. Tutoring isn't like the day job. It's an enjoyable
Hmm.
job. And I do it on my own hours, and my parents and students are aware of what I do, and they're very flexible. So if I'm like, all right, I've actually got a gig like tonight and I have to leave early, then we'll move the session or whatever is necessary.
Beautiful.
I've done events for some of the parents themselves because they're landlords, things like that. So I've done karaoke and bingo and things in their pubs before now.
So Angela has done very well for herself, actually. I'm just looking at some of the accolades that you've got from there. Particularly the one that stood out to me was the Lancaster Comedy Festival this year,
Yes, this
where
year
you won Joke of the Fest.
I did. I did.
Yeah, tell
It's
us about
great.
that.
It was
Can you tell us a
it's
joke? I don't
so
know. Is
daft.
it in?
I could, but it wouldn't really work. The point
Ah,
that it was
okay,
joke of the
okay.
fest was because it was an ad lib. It was
Oh
I'd
wow.
it was based because a lot of my not a lot, but a good bit of my show is based on what the audience tell me. So I
Hmm.
talk to the audience, and and it just so happened that night it was a very busy room, and I mean, I'll tell it. It's so awful, but it works. This is the power of it being relevant in the room.
Yeah.
Is that I had done earlier in that show. I'd asked someone their name, and they were called Jill. And then I talked to someone towards the end of the show and said, "What's your name?" And they were like, "Jill." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I thought you were. I thought I've already spoken to you." So, and then Jill at the back with, "No, no, 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 no. I'm Jill as well." And I was like, "I've got Jills. They're multiplying."
Oh, come on. That's brilliant. Oh,
And that
you're,
was it. That's and of course in drag when you're
yeah.
doing really like camp comedy, a Grease reference is absolute mint for that.
That's honestly like such a quick witty joke as well. That was awesome. What? How did you come up with the idea of bringing the kind of the bingo side to your act as well? Because that seems obviously I know we've got the kind of crazy bingo type thing that's all out there
Mm.
in the entertainment world, but you're this is now your act, and you brought the bingo side into it. What kind of made you make that decision?
It was made for me, I think. What happened was very early on with Angela, I was developing the act as a stand-up musical comedy stand-up act. 'Cause that was I'd done that as Andy before then. And um, this was really early on. A friend of a friend said, "Oh, there's a promoter I know who needs a drag queen for their bingo, and I've put you forward." And I was like, I'm not even a drag queen. I didn't think of myself as a drag queen. I was like, I'm
Hmm.
I'm a character act. Like I'm more in the zone of at the time, sort of edging on sort of a Lily Savage kind of vibe. But
Hmm.
I was like, but I'm not a high kicking drag race RuPaul drag queen. And this it doesn't matter. So I met the bingo promoter, and that's a company's called Bop and Bingo. It's still going. I still do gigs for them, and they thought what I was doing was good. And because of my background in stand-up comedy, my crowd work is, drag queens are very good with crowd work, but I fell into it very easily. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is something I could do. Certainly the money's better. And And then the promoter himself said, there's a drag competition on Canal Street in Manchester, and you should enter it. I think he was about trying to get a bit of promo for the bingo company, and I was like, I'm not a drag queen. I'm a character act. This is just a side hustle. Um, they won't they won't get me. They won't get me. But I went and did it, and I made the final of that night.
Nice.
And I was against all these queens who are half my age and were like long wigs and high kicks and death drops and lip syncs, which that's why I failed in the final. There was a lip sync. Never done that in my life. But then I entered a few more competitions, now a little more aware of how things work there. And they were so accepting. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can come here. And I was a finalist in a bunch of other competitions that year and the year after. And always known as like the sort of stand-up comedy drag queen who has their own songs because that is not what anyone else does. So and they were largely well versed in what goes on in Canal Street, and I wasn't. So I was coming from a very different kind of angle. At which point I was like getting my promoter's hat on from my 20s when I was running club nights, going, you know what, this bingo thing, it's got legs, and I could put my own twists on it, put more comedy in it, put more audience involvement in it, and adapt it for different audiences. Like last week, I did one in a care home. It was
Wow.
incredible. We had a Pride care home gig down near Nottingham, I think it was, and that was lovely. You just change the tempo of the music. I have big what do you call them? Like large format bingo cards
Okay, yeah,
for them, and I tell less dick jokes. And, uh, yeah, and I have a number of my songs are clean. Like some aren't, but some are. So I've got something for everyone.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, obviously I do bingo, but I do quiz nights, I do private parties. I DJ. I hate DJing, though. It's so
Yeah, same,
boring.
same.
It's boring.
Last year at the Fringe, I had the privilege of interviewing quite, excuse me, quite a few drag acts
Hmm,
last year, and the one thing that I found from all of them was talking about the community, the drag community, and how close knit and how kind of strong that community is. And you'd mentioned there that you're coming in from the outside
yeah.
almost, and you didn't consider yourself a drag queen at many a point. Was there any pushback there, or were they like mega accepting of you?
They were really surprisingly accepting. Like to start
Oh,
with,
that's
I
good.
mean, maybe that's my own bias. 'Cause I'm like, oh no, I'm invading us. I'm straight. Like I don't.
Hmm.
Everyone knows. Well, not everyone. Most people know this. And I thought this is going to be. They'll be like, you're invading our space. This queer thing's gone crazy. Straight people who think they can be drag queens, and and they weren't. They were just like, you're what? Like we don't believe you. And they're like, and this is my wife. And they're like, oh, you're so lucky because they've met lots of men in clubs who might be like transvestites or
Hmm.
thereabouts, and were hiding it from their wife. And so these queens were like, you're really lucky, and it's helpful. You're really funny. So they were accepting, and then yeah, one of them who watched me a lot. I now do a podcast with. So I do that with Auntie Ginger. We do Bring Me to Queers. That's every fortnight. And Ginger and we've done shows together in Edinburgh. We did Dragadoo, which was like a late night cabaret last year. But their bread and butter, they do comedy show. They've got a comedy show in Edinburgh as well.
Hmm.
But their bread and butter is cabaret. So they're at all the gay bars across the country
Yeah,
doing
I'm
proper,
sure I
like a
interviewed.
proper drag queen
Yeah,
cabaret.
I'm sure I interviewed Auntie Ginger last year. I'm sure they were on last year. Like so funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the thing is, like these kind of the kind of close to the bone jokes that drag queens are known for.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes I'm like a total no, I'm not a prude, right? But I mean I'm like I get quite uncomfortable sometimes when people, talk about certain subjects and and then all these close to the bone jokes are coming at me and I'm just like, oh no, wait, don't talk to me about that. But no, I loved it. I really loved it. And honestly, I'm gonna get a chance to come and see your show when it comes next week. We're a week away.
Mm. Yeah.
Um Tell us about the show. Where is it? When is it? How can people get involved? So, the admin part of the interview.
So,
Yeah.
Angela Ivory Secret Diary of a Bingo Cool Girl is at 9:35 p.m. every night from July 31st to August 12th. It's at the City Cafe. It's in the Hollywood room, which is the medium-sized room there. And it's on the Laughing Horse Free Festival. So you can turn up and just donate at the end, but a lot, and I'm not joking here, I know people like hyperbole with this. Have booked in advance. Laughing Horse a couple of years ago introduced the idea of reserve your seat in advance, and last year it didn't really do much for me, but this year it really has. I don't know what's changed, whether either I'm doing better or is the culture changing
Hmm.
and people are actually really keen to book ahead. It's hard to know, and you can if you do book ahead, you can book at sort of the free fringe style pricing, so you can pay 5, 750, 10, 12.50, whatever you can afford or whatever you're comfortable with. And I mean, at the moment, I think it's about 20% of the whole run that way, and it's averaging £10 a ticket. So
Oh, wow.
I'm quite impressed. I'm just like, oh, people are nice. So so
Are you
so
sure?
yeah, you can book the tickets through the normal Ed Fringe channels. It's not a special channel or anything. Or yes, if you're just 9:30 at night, you've had a few beers or a few cocktails, and you're like, that looks like fun. Do just come down. As I say, I've got loads of video visuals and things. It's been designed to work later night.
Hmm.
Like, so if you're finding it difficult to follow what I'm saying, the lyrics are on the screen and you can
Very
follow it.
nice. I love that. I love that. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me again.